A sexless marriage is a terrible thing. In fact, it's a prelude to divorce, okay? Once a marriage starts to become sexless, not because of children, by the way, but because of lack of interest in one another, the marriage is doomed. The marriage is going to go down the tubes. It'll end in divorce, and it'll be an ugly thing. And in order to understand why this is going to happen, why a sexless marriage inevitably leads to divorce, you have to understand the causes of a sexless marriage. You see, more often than not, a sexless marriage happens because a woman denies sex to her man. She denies sex to her man for whatever reason. She might be pissed off at him. They might have had like some fight. She might not really be in the mood, or so she claims. Or, just a myriad of reasons. But you'll find more often than not that the sexless marriage starts with the woman denying sex to the man. And the man, rather than pressing the issue, I'm not talking about raping her, of course, I'm talking about talking to her and trying to find out why she doesn't want to have sex with him, he sort of like accepts it for reasons of his own. Now, a lot of times what will happen is that the woman will deny sex and the man will acquiesce to this sexless regime, and he'll explain it away to himself as it being momentary, that it'll just, a phase, and they'll get over it. And what happens a lot of times is that the guy gets used to living with his wife without having sex with her, or, which is even worse, he finds a side piece for his sexual outlet. Now, once that happens, once the marriage between two people is that the woman doesn't want to have sex with her husband, and the husband has sex with somebody else, even though he's still living with his wife, well, it's a castle built out of sand. The whole structure is going to disintegrate at any moment. The first big wave, i.e. the first big crisis, and the whole marriage will just wash away. And that happens all the time. See, you do have to understand, though, that a guy who has a side piece in a sexless marriage, that marriage is probably going to go down the tubes. But in a marriage where the husband and the wife are having sex on a regular basis and the guy has a side piece, that's a different story, actually. From my experience, people I know and whatnot, stories I've heard, it's just that the guy is just horny. He's got a high sex drive. He's got a high sex drive, and a lot of times also, it comes from a form of insecurity. He feels that he needs more pussy outside of the marriage, and so he'll pursue it. And it doesn't mean that he doesn't want to be with his wife. He could be deeply in love with his wife and just need more pussy. Yeah, I mean, that's the way some guys roll, okay? And this is the reason, of course, that you have more dominant men. More dominant men tend to have a higher sex drive. You could say that one causes the other. It doesn't really matter, the causal relationship, or even if it's just a correlation and there's some other cause for both of these effects. The point is that more dominant men tend to want more sex. And they want more sex from their wife, and for whatever reason, the wife might not be able to comply, and the guy will look at it elsewhere. That marriage is paradoxically not going to have much of a problem, okay? It's the marriage where there's no sex, and the guy is looking elsewhere for sex. That marriage is doomed, inevitably. Now, why is the wife denying the husband sex? And that's the key issue. Well, it can be for various reasons, but I've noticed, usually, it's two. Number one, the woman is very upset with the man, and the man doesn't know how to handle this upsetness, doesn't know how to handle the negotiation to get her back on side, to get her back and happy with him. So instead of trying to negotiate, he just leaves the problem there and doesn't try to solve it, and the woman just gets angrier. And she gets angrier and she denies sex. And she wants sex too. I mean, women are horny just as much as guys, just in a slightly different way, but they're just as horny. They love having sex just as much as a guy does. And denying sex for a woman often becomes like a masochistic thing. She gets like a masochistic thing about denying sex, because what she's really feeling is that she's like attacking, poking the husband for not listening to her problems, not dealing with her problems, whatsoever those problems might happen to be. okay? And so that's the cause, one of the causes of sexless marriages, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I've seen. That the woman, she's denying sex as a way to get back at her husband, and the husband, rather than, you know, taking the bait and responding and trying to fix the problem, he sort of like ignores the problem and drifts away, okay? That's one cause. Now, the other cause is when the wife has lost respect for her man. This happens a lot with financial problems, financial issues, see? See, a guy who goes through a financial problem, a period where money is not working out very well, the woman will tend to lose respect for him. And it's not that women are gold diggers. You got to understand, evolutionarily speaking, a woman depends on a man to bring in the resources so that she and their children can survive. See? That's the state of nature. It's always been that way. That's the way human beings are because of evolution. Okay? Now, when a man fails to provide those resources because things are going badly at work or his business or whatnot, she might lose respect for him. There are some women who are more understanding, or the situation could be more understandable for the woman, where, you know, your loss in your business or your work or whatever is not really your fault. It's bad circumstances, bad luck. And in that case, the woman is not going to lose respect for the man. On the contrary, she will feel closer to him because it's a crisis that has befallen both of them. You know, say for instance you had some business and, I don't know, a meteor struck it and blew it out of the water, you know. And so of course it's the problem of the both of them, and it wasn't the guy's fault. And so she's not going to feel disrespectful towards her man because of just bad luck. But if the man fucks up his career or fucks up his business, she will lose respect for him. And when she loses respect for him, she just isn't going to want to fuck him. As simple as that, okay? Because women are like that. Women will not want to fuck a guy whom they do not respect. And the thing is, see, respect is a lot like virginity. Once you lose it, it's gone forever. And that happens in some sexless marriages, that the woman lost respect for the guy because of some failure at work or whatnot, and he was never able to recover that respect that she had for him. No matter what he did, no matter how hard he worked, no matter how successful he was later, she just didn't feel the tingles for him anymore. And you know, it's great that there's money flowing in, that work or the business or whatever is booming, but the respect once lost, never regained. See? And so that's the second reason that a woman will decide, whether consciously or not, whether she articulates it to herself or not, but she will decide not to have sex with her man anymore, with her husband. And by the way, this whole conversation, you know, I'm talking about husbands or long-term boyfriends, okay? Or even, you know, just a recent dating kind of situation. In all man-woman relationships, this dynamic always applies, whether it's formalized or not. A woman, you know, she loses respect for the guy, and she's just not going to want to fuck him. And the guy can plead with her, and that'll just make the situation worse. Can fuck other girls, and that'll make the situation worse. I mean, plead with her in the hopes of repairing the marriage, or fuck other girls in order to inspire jealousy in the woman. It doesn't matter what he does. Once a woman loses respect for you, it's over, and it'll never be recovered. There's also the problem, of course, that the woman you're with, right, is denying you sex because she's fucking some other guy. If she's fucking some other guy, dump her instantly. No hesitation, okay? And if you suspect that she's fucking some other guy, you gotta confront her right the fuck away. And you have to be willing right then in that second, in that moment when you're confronting her, if she says, yes, I'm fucking some other guy, you have to be ready right that second to leave her. Leave her behind without a second glance, okay? I mean, you got to understand, yeah, when a woman denies you sex, but you're still together, right? You might be able to solve the situation. But if a woman is denying you sex and she's fucking some other guy, it's over. I mean, don't even pretend that it's still workable, okay? I mean, there are situations where a woman is fucking you and fucking some other guy. Apart from being a whore, of course, the relationship with you is still viable. But if she's denying you sex and fucking some other guy, it is over. And make no mistake about it, don't argue with yourself, don't try to convince yourself of any bullshit. It's over, done, walk away, because she already left you. Oh, by the way, this whole conversation about sexless marriage, I forgot a period where there isn't any sex in the relationship, which is, immediately prior to and immediately after childbirth. Okay? Don't worry about that. Okay, a lack of sex immediately before, immediately after childbirth means absolutely nothing, and it means nothing in terms of the marriage or the relationship or any shit like that. Okay, it's just that the woman is going to be so preoccupied with the kid after birth that she's not going to be horny. It's just she's not there in her headspace. Okay, it'll be a month or 2 months or 3 months or sometimes as much as 6 months before she really wants to get down and dirty again after having a kid. Okay, a lot of times, remember, her instincts, her hormones are basically squashing down her sex drive so that she will focus on the child that she has right here and now and not get pregnant right away and have another one, okay? I mean, that's part of the lack of interest insofar as sex is concerned from the part of the women. That's a lot of times what's going on. It's an evolutionary strategy so that the woman pays attention to the kid she has right now instead of, getting pregnant right away and then soon enough popping out another kid and neglecting the previous child, okay? But look, when it comes to the whole childbirth thing and sex, don't worry about it. Don't worry, it gets straightened out all on its own. You do not have to worry about it. But you do have to worry about the situation, the first situation, whereby the woman doesn't want to have sex with you as kind of like a payback for something that you did. Something that you did or something that you didn't do. I mean, it depends, right? A lot of times it's because of what you didn't do. Women will forgive a lot of things that you do. In fact, they'll forgive most things that you do, but they won't really forgive you for the things that you didn't do. The things that she expected you to do and you failed to do for whatever reason. Perhaps you didn't even realize that she expected this from you, okay? Now, in that situation, when you still have the respect of your woman and you have a sexless marriage and the sexless phase has lasted maybe a few weeks or maybe a few months, well, what you have to do is you have to sit her down and you have to talk to her and you have to figure it out. And see, the problem here that happens is that a lot of times women who use sex as a weapon, the denial of sex as a weapon, many times these women don't like to talk about the problems in the relationship. Yeah, this is a deadly combination, okay? Because look, a woman denying sex is essentially a passive-aggressive move, right? Now, passive-aggressive people, they flee from confrontation. They flee from any kind of face-to-face negotiation, that is, ironing out your problems. Because ultimately, that's what's going on. When you are dealing with your woman, when you're talking to her face-to-face and saying, look, these are the problems we're having and how do we solve them, how do we get over them, right? Well, precisely the woman who will use the denial of sex as a weapon against you, she's going to be the woman who will not want to have these face-to-face conversations. And so what I have noticed in my own experience and the experience of other men that I've known, and I've discussed this with, is that the longer the lack of conversation and communication about the underlying issues are, the longer that time, the more irreparable the situation. Because the longer you go without talking about the problem, the bigger the problem becomes in the woman's mind. And because it becomes bigger in her mind, the more reluctant she is to talk about it and to solve it and to negotiate an agreement so that you can both move forward together. You see? It's very important that you understand this. And that's why in a sexless marriage, you got to nip this shit in the bud. Because the longer it festers, the more irreconcilable the difference is, the more likely the end of the relationship, which is a disaster, especially if you have children involved. You see, ultimately, sex is a barometer of the health of the relationship, okay? If there's lots of sex going on between you and your woman, right? Anywhere between, 3 times a week to 7 times a week, anywhere in that range that you have sex on the regular basis with your woman, then the relationship is going to be healthy. Or if it's not totally healthy, it's irreparable. Any problems can be fixed. and you'll work them out and move forward. Because that's just the nature of people. If they're fucking on a regular basis, any problems that they might have will be fixed. And if they stop fucking, then it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to them being strangers. You're in a sexless marriage, you're in a situation where you and your woman are just not fucking, and more importantly, not talking about these problems, you gotta fix it. You gotta fix it right quick, see? Because if you don't fix it, the relationship, the marriage, it's gonna fall apart. It's gonna fall apart and there won't be anything that you can do about it. And is that what you want?